Hello, extraordinary child of God. If you are looking to transition your life from where you are to where God wants you to be, then you, my friend, are in the right place. And if this is your first time visiting my channel, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button as well as the notification bell so that you won't miss another episode. Well, we are officially in the holiday season, and one thing that goes hand in hand with the holidays is shopping. And one of the biggest shopping days here in the United States is Black Friday. Now, I want you to take a moment with me and imagine that you are at the mall shopping, and the owner of the store that you're in comes up to you and he places a special certificate in your hand. And he tells you that you've been chosen to receive a special gift at checkout. And when you look at the certificate, you realize that this is no small gift. This gift is huge. It is amazing. So in excitement, you hurry to the checkout line, but on your way there, another shopper runs their basket right into your back, and you are in great pain. But you keep heading to the checkout line. Then, as you wait in line, you watch as 6 different individuals cut ahead of the people who are in front of you. Then, some random person comes up to you and recognizes the certificate that you have in your hand, and they physically try to take it from you. And you find yourself in an altercation that requires security to break apart. Then finally, after all of the chaos, and after having stood in line for what seems to be hours, you reach the front of the line to cash out on the gift you've been promised, only to have the cashier hand you a rain check as she informs you that they are currently all out of the special item that you will have to come back in a couple of weeks when they restock. How would that experience make you feel? Well, in today's episode, we are going to talk about the fact that cashing out on the promises of God often requires a wait as well as some conflict. So stay tuned. If you're like me, I'm sure you don't like to wait and you don't like conflict. But oftentimes, that's exactly what happens in our Christian journeys. So to get a better understanding of why God allows this to happen, we're going to take another look at the life of David. Now, when David was just a boy, he was promised something special from God. And that promise was that he would one day be king. But the journey to the throne was not an easy one, and it came with great conflict. Because David had to wait for Saul's time on the throne to come to an end. And believe me, Saul was not just going to hand the kingdom over to David. Saul was going to fight to the death and do everything in his power to keep David off of the throne. So David had to wait, and during this wait, he experienced much conflict in the form of Saul constantly trying to take his life. But then the day finally arrived when Saul died, and technically, David's wait should have come to an end. But it didn't, because David did not take over as king over all of Israel and Judah, as God had promised. Instead, only Judah came under his rule because one of Saul's sons, Ishbosheth, had declared himself king over Israel. And for 7 years and 6 months, David had to patiently wait for the entire kingdom to come under his control. Now, what's interesting is that during the waiting, not once did David take it upon himself to take Saul's life so that he could become king. Neither did he take it upon himself to take Ishbosheth's life so that he could become king over all of Israel. And even when the tidings were brought to him that these men were dead, David did not rejoice, which is why David is a special dude. But how is it that David could be so patient and not lose faith in the promises of God during all the years of waiting and all of the conflict that came with the wait? Well, it's because David trusted God, and he knew that God would do what God needed to do in God's time, and he did not require David's interference. You see, what we have to understand is that God has ordained certain promises to be fulfilled in our lives, but the journey to receiving the promises of God often come with conflict, and we have to recognize that God allows the conflict because in the conflict we are growing and he is preparing us to handle the promise. Everything that happened to David during those many years of waiting was divinely orchestrated by the hand of God to prepare David to be the greatest king of Israel. Every conflict he experienced was shaping his character, and every moment of the wait was strengthening his faith in God. And what you have to understand is that God never wastes 1 second of your journey. Your journey to the promise is always ordained by Him. He's simply making sure you can handle the weight of the gift He's going to give you. So stay encouraged, my friend. Though your journey is difficult and it seems like God is taking forever to do some things in your life, never lose hope. Instead, remember David and how he handled the weight and how God truly blessed him as a result. Well, that's all I have for you today, and I hope it blesses you. And if you are in need of a little help trusting God, be sure to check out my book, Trusting When It Doesn't Make Sense. Also, be sure to leave a comment below and let us know your thoughts on waiting and the conflict that comes with the wait. And if you're not subscribed already, be sure to subscribe. But most importantly, you know what I'm about to say. You know what I'm about to say. Remember that you are extraordinary through Christ. God bless, and I will see you all next week.